All right, welcome back for another episode of Two Plane Sports. Today, Brandon's on the road. He's live from Padre. I don't know if he ever got any recommendations from one of his in-the-video challenges. Brandon, did you
Somebody
ever get
did
it?
say wherever the beer is coldest, and I have had
Well,
at least one or two cold beers. I will say that.
well, that's a pretty good recommendation. So going back to Brandon's in-the-video challenge a few videos ago, if you've been to Padre, let him know where he should go. He's going to be there for a little while longer. But today we got a pretty good episode. We're going to be talking about the commitment of Josiah Wagner that OU picked up on Monday. And then we're going to be talking about where OU sits in the recruiting rankings. And then the back half of this video will be the interview, hopefully, Cayden Green. He should be on, back into this video. And we'll talk about his commitment, his recruitment, and everything else. And we'll get to know Cayden Green a little bit better. But obviously, Monday we're a little late. But Josiah Wagner, he committed to Oklahoma, 5'11", 170-pound cornerback from Spanaway, Washington, 2023 4-star, number 217 overall, and the number 25 cornerback according to the 247 composite rankings. Committed to Oklahoma over Cal, Notre Dame, Arizona, Texas, a few other schools, a lot of West Coast schools. This isn't totally a shock. I remember whenever Brandon and I did the interview with Heath Ozaita, Heath said he was recruiting him hard. OU seems to be trying to recruit the Pacific Northwest pretty hard. And it seemed like it ended well for Oklahoma. Oklahoma's on a roll. July's been probably the best month I've ever seen and for recruiting. Brandon, what do you think about Josiah Wagner? Extremely talented. I feel like a lot of upside.
I mean, yeah, exactly that. Very, very talented dude. Good size, good speed for a corner. It's never a bad thing to land a 4-star corner. I think we're all excited about it. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Heath bringing him up because, I mean, clearly whatever he was doing and plus the coaching staff, it all paid out. I see him more as a depth piece right away. I think he'll eventually be competing with the guy like Gentry Williams long-term for a spot, but the more competition, the better. I'm never mad about getting a 4-star defensive back. Overall, it's a good thing. I'm excited.
So I agree with Brandon about the immediate impact that Josiah might have on this roster, but I think what will be interesting is how he'll be in the mix because in high school he plays out wide. He covers the wide receivers, but he'll be more than likely on the shorter end of the DB room with how the DBs and wide receivers are being recruited. It looks like we're going after a lot bigger bodies, longer guys, and he's on the shorter end. Not that he's short. I think right now he's listed at 5'11". Maybe he is in that 6 feet, 6'1", and maybe in cleats he's around that height. Who knows like what his exact measurements will be by the time he gets to college, but given that he'll be in the shorter side, I wonder if he'll get moved into slot at all or if he'll get moved back to safety because he does have really good coverage skills. That's something I really like watching his highlight tape. He knows how to high point the ball and attack once he sees the ball out of the quarterback's hands. So I could see him fitting as a safety, but again, he's also really good as a corner. He can keep up with wide receivers. He has good coverage skill. It'll just be how that room ends up panning out. Because we have Gentry Williams in that room, Jaden Rowe, who can play corner and safety. Then there's a transfer. He won't have to worry about CJ Colden. There's Kenai Walker still. I don't know. Is Woody Washington still around for one more season after this year? Or is he drafted?
I'd imagine he's going to be going to the NFL.
Okay. So, I mean, there's definitely going to be opportunity there for him. It'll just be, again, I think it'll be his size that will determine where he's going to play on the field and how much impact he can have immediately.
It seemed like Josiah Wagner kind of popped up on the radar kind of out of nowhere and somewhat recently. It seemed like OU was gaining a lot of momentum in the last 6 weeks or so. But kind of looking at what this 2023 defensive back room could look like as far as in this class, now you have Josiah Wagner on the board. Eric McCarty, you can't forget about him. While he is a 3-star, he's a stud out of McAlester, Oklahoma. So you've got those two guys on the board, and I'm just grouping the safeties and the corners. And then you look at Jacoby Johnson, Makari Vickers, it seems like OU's in a pretty solid spot for him. I would argue that if Vickers and Jacoby Johnson goes OU's way over the next few months, that would be one of the better, if not the best, defensive back recruiting class in the last 10 years. I mean, there might be another recruiting class that has better defensive backs, but as far as the ratings and the rankings go, I mean, if you look at Macari and Jacoby, they're both top 100 players. Josiah Wagner, a 4-star. Eric McCarty, I could see him jump into a 4-star by the end of the year. That is quite a haul in this 2023 class between Jay Valai and Brandon Hall. They're doing a really good job. What do you guys think about that?
Got both trays, because they were the same class together.
That would have been the 2016 class.
I would argue that class, because both of those players, I agree with the potential that this class has could be the best haul in the last 10 years, whatever you're saying. But like, I'm going to stack it up to both trays. So I think for it to be a better class, at least two of those guys have to be long-term starters and be productive starters, because both Trey Brown and Trey Norwood were that for Oklahoma. So I think that is the bar in the last 10 years as far as defensive backs go.
So I think Brandon's onto something, and not specifically with the trays, but that class did have Justin Broyles, who was a top 100 cornerback, Robert Barnes, who was a top 100 safety, Trey Brown, who was a 4-star ranked 142 cornerback. And then I'm still scrolling through here.
Was Trey Norwood not part of that class? I thought he was.
Trey Norwood was, but he's more so like at the end of his career, he panned out in college because he was a 3-star number 800. So I think it's that you can make an argument for both. But you can also make an argument for next year's class. At the end of the day, we'll have to look back in like 4 or 5 years and see which class at the end of the day has panned out the most. Because on the recruiting side, I think this one has a better argument than the 2017 class, which was the one that included both trays. But at the end of their time, clearly Trey Brown and Trey Norwood performed at a very high level, enough to be in the NFL, and Trey Brown to be a pretty impactful piece to the team that he's currently on. So we'll just have to see. I mean, recruiting wise, I think Brum's definitely onto something with just based on the kids' rankings right now. This does seem to be a very good haul for Oklahoma in recent years.
Even Justin Broyles, for that matter, is a guy who's been serviceable for Oklahoma for many years now. And you said class of 17, so like 5 years later, 6 years later, whatever, he looks to be a guy who's in a good spot to play a good amount of snaps for Oklahoma. So I would just say that class right there is going to be the one to stack up to in the last 10 years for comparison's sake, if we're going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and it very well could end up being that, the rankings don't mean everything, and it might end up, they might not pan out. But as far as the ratings go, I would like to think that the coaching is going to be at a different level and the development's going to be at a different level. So maybe the ceiling is higher and the floor is higher as well. So, if they don't pan out, I still think that they're going to be pretty solid. And just, kind of some overall thoughts, I think we tweeted out the other day about OU in the last 6-7 weeks. I remember OU was like the number 35, number 40 class. And it ended up being that now, as we record this right now, this is prior to any commitments for either school, for any school, OU sits at number 7. And for going from 40 to 7 in a matter of 6 to 7 weeks is almost unheard of. This has been the craziest 6 weeks I've seen in some OU recruiting in a long time. And I still think that OU could easily finish top 5. And, if they get another commitment potentially on Thursday, we'll have to tune in for Derek LeBlanc. They could push up, get pushed up to 6, assuming that Caleb Downs picks Alabama tomorrow or Wednesday as you're watching this. Just some overall thoughts. You guys have any thoughts on like the overall momentum? I still think that this class probably will be top 5. Could it be top 3? Maybe. I think top 5 is very good. And, anything in this range, I would be ecstatic with first year Venables. And like we've talked about, recruiting is multiple years, not just one. And for Venables and his staff to come in and put together a class of could be anywhere from 1 to 10. It's pretty impressive. Brandon?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very impressive. And I mean, we heard Brandon Drum say there's a scenario where it could be number one. Obviously, a lot of things have to go our way for that to happen, but top 5 seems very feasible. You mentioned Makari Vickers and Jacoby Johnson when you were talking about the defensive back room, but Cecilia Kana, Edric Hill, there's several guys. Derek LeBlanc, as you mentioned on Thursday. There's a lot of names there that OU still in the running for, and everybody we've talked to on our show and listen to the radio and stuff favors Oklahoma in some of these battles. I know Derek LeBlanc was favored to Oklahoma by everybody we've talked to on our show, meeting Brandon Drum and Parker Thune. Makari Vickers, I think Brandon Drum said Oklahoma leads for him. So there's a lot of guys that could end up coming our way in. We've kind of been hammering on this show for a long time now, but top 5 seems realistic, and I think at this point I would be surprised if we're not.
I don't know. Definitely. So at some point I was definitely wrong. Apparently I did say top 15, which, I mean, we are, so not completely wrong, but we're higher than top 15, right? I mean, I just don't want to say like for sure top 5, because obviously Oklahoma, there's a lot of momentum for Oklahoma, but while we focus on Oklahoma, other schools are still recruiting, not just the guys that are favoring Oklahoma at this time, but they're recruiting other players that Oklahoma isn't focused on. And some of them are still some highly ranked players out there that are uncommitted, like a Caleb Downs. Like, I just think that saying that 100% Oklahoma can be a top 5 can be, yes, will be. I think that's when we're kind of ignoring the fact that other schools are still recruiting, and it's just a battle to get there. Like, I think top 5 is definitely feasible. I think top 3, a lot of things have to happen where we're pretty much hitting like 100% of the guys that Oklahoma is currently targeting that are not committed. Like we talked about with Drum, we need, Yates and Bowen to ultimately flip to Oklahoma to help out to get to that number 1 spot. We need Johnny Bowens to also probably get a commitment from him, help us out and get into that top 2. Cause like we talked about Brandon on an episode, the gap between 1 and 2 and 3 is very, very big. So once we start seeing not just Oklahoma, but other schools start closing in that gap on Ohio State and Notre Dame, that's when I think we can start seeing what it's going to look like at the end of the year. And then also, like we saw today, there's still a lot of updates that'll happen. I think that's what's going to help OU a lot at the end of the day with the rankings. We saw PJ get boosted a lot on 24/7 today. So those kind of things are what's going to, at the end of the day, be key, not just the acquisitions, but how much can these guys start climbing through the ranks on their senior season.
Another guy that got another big bump is Samuel Omosigo. Also got another big bump today. He's flying up the charts too. So the last thing I will say about this, if OU does indeed land Derek LeBlanc, Jacoby Johnson, Makari Vickers over the next 6-8 weeks, just depending on when they announce, OU would have 20 commits. Texas has 20 commits. OU would then jump Texas. Equal number of commits, OU would jump Texas. So remember at a time, a few weeks.
But they got Arch Manning.
Yeah, I know. And now
it was over after that happened, bud.
OU should probably shut down the program. So that's kind of my final thought. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we get into the Cayden Green interview? Nope. All right. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment, and stick around for Brandon's end of video challenge at the end of the Cayden Green interview. And be sure to leave us a review on Apple or Spotify, and we will catch you on Friday after this interview.
All right. Well, what's up, Cayden, man? Welcome to the show.
How's it going? I appreciate you guys having me.
Good. Yeah, we're excited to have you. So going through the whole recruitment process, as a top 100 player like yourself, very highly rated tackle, you had offers kind of from everywhere. I knew you kind of grew up an Oklahoma fan. What was ultimately what made you choose Oklahoma over other schools? Was it your connection with Bill Bedenbaugh? Is it, what kind of ultimately sold you on OU?
Yeah, I say of course, the relationship with him, me being from there, the new staff and how they operate and how they work. And all the programs that they have in place to help be successful. And of course, their offensive line, they put offensive linemen in the league all the time. So just from a developmental standpoint, and I just felt like it just fit. It was just meant to be.
So I have to ask, what's it like to be compared to Trent Williams, one of probably the best football players to ever exist, not just at his position. No, Joshua Bates was hyping you up as the next Trent Williams, and now the fan base has kind of put you on that pedestal. Do you feel a lot of pressure from that?
Yes and no. Of course, Trent Williams is the best tackle in the league, hands down. But at the same time, I'm my own player. I'm my own person. So a lot of the stuff that he does, I'm not going to be able to do just because I'm not running a 4.8 at 320 pounds. So I kind of take it with a grain of salt, and then I keep working because I got to be my own player. But at the same time, it's like an honor that people are comparing me to him.
So I have to ask, OU's been on quite a tear as far as commitments over the last 6-7 weeks. This offensive class, including yourself and Heath Ozaita, Logan Howland, and a few others, and Joshua Bates. What do you think about this class? I feel like this offensive class with you and a few others, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing. But the thing about this year is it's offense and defense. Like, I think we'll finish with a top 5 class, and we'll be just as stacked on defense as we are on offense. So I don't think we've seen that like to this caliber in a while. So it's just pretty exciting to see how it's panning out.
Yeah, so we've had a couple other commits on the show here recently. We've had Jackson Arnold, Heath Ozaita, Joshua Bates. So you make number 4 for us, and we've asked every single one of them this question. Did the move to the SEC factor into your decision to commit to Oklahoma at all, or is that not something that you were all that focused on?
I've always been high on Oklahoma, like even before the news came out. But I think like when I found out that they were going to SEC, it got me excited. Like it didn't help seal the deal, but it was a big plus. Definitely was a big plus.
So with the new staff, it seems like it's pretty well known, right, that Venables wants you guys as as guys to just go out and take full advantage of the recruiting process. Take all your visits before you 100% make that commitment. That's something that fans really like. Obviously, that's how the staff is now implementing their recruiting. That's how the recruiting is now. What were those visits like for you? Like after going to Oklahoma a few times, because you went 2 or 3 times before making the announcement, right? Were you wanting to commit earlier, or did you want to take full advantage of that process like Venables was pushing you to?
Yeah, me personally, I wanted to kind of like exhaust every possible option before I pulled the plug. So after I left my official visit, that was like my 6th trip there. After I left my official, I was pretty much like, yeah, I think this is it. But like I wanted to exhaust every possible option. So I went to LSU and I went to Mizzou after, and Mizzou, they did a really good job. And yeah, I think if anything, that was the school that almost got me. But yeah, I mean, after I left my official visit, I felt pretty good.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, how big of a factor was Missouri in your recruitment? It's the hometown or, the home state that you live in now anyway. Was Missouri always there, or did they kind of come on late, or was Oklahoma always your number one, or how'd that whole recruiting process go for you? I know it's probably a year or two, the whole process.
Yeah, so Missouri, they were like my 3rd offer. So they've been in the running for a while. And then growing up, my 2 schools are always Missouri and Oklahoma. So they were a factor from the beginning. But yeah, I mean, it's always kind of been those 2. And then other schools came on, like Nebraska, their new staff. I enjoyed them. So they were up there. LSU, I like what Coach Davis, what he had going on. But like, so schools like that, like they kind of came on later. But I think Missouri and Oklahoma, they've been like 1 and 2 for my whole recruitment.
So, like, we see Jackson Arnold and we see Joshua Bates really active on social media, and a couple of other guys as far as recruiting goes. How active are you personally as far as trying to get other 2023 commits? Like, I know Derek LeBlanc's committing Thursday. Is he a guy that you talk to? Josiah Wagner just committed Monday. How active are you in trying to bring in more commits to this class?
Yeah, I talked to Derek quite a bit, like on Snapchat and stuff. And then, of course, like PJ, I knew him before because we live in the same city. And then I talked to Dylan a little bit before he committed. But yeah, I mean, I try to talk to as many people as I can, but I don't know. I don't really know everybody. Like the Josiah Wagner, I didn't really know him, so I didn't talk to him as much. But I mean, I'm glad they're on board because I know they can play.
So, being a Chiefs fan, because I'm checking out your background, and I'm assuming that Coach B been able to connect you with Creed Humphrey, or were you there? I know Creed was there on one of the recruiting events. It might have been the one in June, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I got to meet him a couple times. I've seen him I saw him at the spring game. I saw him on my OV. I saw him at Champ U last year. I've seen him quite a bit because he's close. Kansas City's about 5 hours away, so whenever there's a big event going on, he's usually there. But him, I got to talk to him quite a bit, chop it up with him a little bit, and then I got to meet Orlando Brown, of course, and that was pretty cool. That was the first time I got to meet him at the spring game, so that was pretty cool to get to talk to him.
Yeah, the Sooners are pretty prominent along that offensive line for the Kansas City. So going, your recruitment process has been a while. You've been through now 2 coaching staffs, as far as who have been recruiting you. So I just, I don't want it to be the whole Lincoln Riley show or whatever, but when that process was happening, I assume that Coach B was probably a huge influence on what, Oklahoma was to you. I know you grew up a fan, you were born here and everything. With Coach B, potentially, he was potentially leaving, going to another school. Was that really important? You were following that. And if he had taken another job, would Oklahoma, kind of be behind the 8 ball in that scenario?
Yeah, I definitely think when I first heard the news, the first person I texted was Coach B, and I guess he had found out when the rest of us kind of found out, so he didn't really know what was going on. But I definitely think if he would have left, then USC would have been a big part of my my recruitment, and I definitely think Oklahoma would have fell off a little bit. But as soon as he was like, "No, I'm staying," and then we were kind of like, "All right, then we're gonna." Oklahoma's just as high on my list as they were before, and then of course when Coach Venables got in, I really am a big fan of him, so that kind of helped them out even more.
So we know for at least a year or so, you'll be playing the Red River rivalry, or I guess you'll always have the Red River game. Bedlam is another big matchup. Baylor, in the future, whenever Oklahoma does transition to the SEC, this is a question I've asked everybody, so I gotta get your opinion too. What stadium are you most excited to play in as a visitor? Kind of just see what it's all about, because there's a lot of cool ones out there in the SEC.
To be honest, Missouri, because all my family's in Missouri, in Kansas City, so that'll be fun. But other than that, probably LSU, because I heard that it's crazy there.
I think that's a good one.
You're at least the second player to pick LSU as their as one stadium that they're excited to play in.
Yeah.
So I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, you posted on Twitter, how I think you were ranked the #1 interior lineman by ESPN. Are you focusing on playing a tackle at the next level, or are you open to kind of going wherever, you're a best fit once you get to college?
Yeah, I'm just trying to like get in where I fit in. You know, I don't really care if that's inside or out. I know the only reason why I got moved to guard is because at the Future 50, I played guard because there weren't any other guards, and I was the only one that could play inside or out. But me personally, I don't care. I don't care where like I play at. I want to get on the field.
So, this is another question with the new staff. How big of a selling point was the Soul mission? It seemed like when Brent Venables came in, that was one of the things that he had to have if he was going to take this Oklahoma job, and he negotiated. And we've talked with other commits, and it seemed like the Soul mission played a big factor in their recruitments. Did that for you?
Yeah, I definitely say it did. I think Oklahoma was the only school that really was able to go like in depth and in detail about their plan and their plans for us as people, not just players, and how they can really benefit us as people on and off the field and after football and all that stuff. I think they were the only school that really went in depth with it. So that was kind of cool because I was able to see the importance of the program to the school. So I definitely say that was a big deal for not only me, but my parents. They loved that.
So some of the guys in this 23 class that you'll get to protect, kind of run block for, pass block for, are pretty darn good players, watching the tape and stuff. So, like, how exciting is it for you as an offensive lineman to know that you're going to be clearing holes for guys like Dalen Smothers and Caleb Hicks, and you'll be pass blocking for what we all foresee as the best quarterback in the 23 class in Jackson Arnold?
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I definitely agree. We got electric backs that can tote the rock. We got quarterbacks that can throw. We got guys that can go up and get it. Like, it's exciting. It's exciting. And then on the other side, we got a defense that'll keep points off the board for the other team. So, I mean, everything about what's going on right now is just exciting to me.
Do you have a preference on run block versus pass block, or are you just like whatever coach wants me to do, I know I'm going to be the best at it no matter what? Yeah,
I mean, I don't really care, but I think I do like run blocking more just because, like, it's just, I don't even know. It's just like you get to be more violent in a run block.
Yeah, I think Bates said the same thing. Instead of having to wait to get to your spot, you can just blast the defensive end or the guy across from you, and then hopefully get some mismatches with DBs.
Yeah, I think Bates also, we asked him the question I want to ask you as well. Do you have a favorite play? Bates talked about his favorite play was a screenplay and him coming out or was it a pulling? We talked to Heath Ozida and it was about pulling and things like that and be able to match up with the safety or a corner. Do you have a favorite play?
Yeah, so we had this play put in this year. We ran it last year with my other tackle. He's at Mizzou now. He was a stud himself, but he was a senior, so he got it last year. But we got this play where I actually line up at receiver, and it's a little screen play. I'm out there blocking for the receiver, so I'm pretty excited for that one.
It's kind of Trent Williams like. I mean, yeah. if it's ever a time to be compared to him, he does blast through holes like Absolutely. A wide receiver would.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say they need to get the setup for you where they were calling that in the Green Bay game with putting Trent Williams in motion and sending him across.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty neat.
So, like, I saw you you got to line up a little bit against PJ Adebare at the camp recently. How cool was that? And who kind of got the upper hand there? Did you beat him or he beat you?
Well, I didn't get to go against him in that camp, but we scrimmaged each other like a couple days later, like our teams in full pads. So I definitely say he could play. I've never seen somebody 240 move like he moves. But yeah, we kind of went back and forth a little bit, but that's just how that goes. But yeah, he's gonna be big time.
And did you go up against David Stone? I think it was you guys kind of went back and forth on Twitter probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago during a camp.
Yeah, he was at the Future 50 in Florida, and I got to go up against him at guard, and he was at D tackle. He's gonna be something too. Well, I mean, he already is, but of course he was like the youngest at that camp. He was like one of like 2024. So yeah, he's gonna be special.
So I have to ask you about another kid from the Kansas City metro area, Edric Hill. Edric Hill, and I assume that you know him, and PJ, and you guys are all some of the best players in the Kansas City area. Are you working on him to try to get him to be a Sooner? It seems like he's interested in Oklahoma, and he was pretty excited about getting that offer when he did a few months ago.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been on him. He plays with PJ, so we all just scrimmage each other. I didn't see him as much just because he's D tackle and I play tackle, but yeah, he can play too. I've been on him, and it seems like he likes he loves Coach Bates. It seems like he likes what the program has going on. So he'll be on the June 20th visit this weekend. But yeah, we'll just have to see with him.
So this is a question that we've asked all the commits as well, and it's actually a question that we stole from another podcast that we were on. But I mean, we got to ask it, and I'm curious to see your opinion because right now it's all three have said the same thing. So I'm curious to see if we get anything different. When it comes to wings, like chicken wings, do you prefer drums or flats?
Flats, 100%.
Flats. Ranch or blue cheese?
Ranch, definitely.
There it is. That's 4-0. That's 4-0.
I mean, this is we're running away with this one. Flats and ranch are the way to go.
There's only one right answer to those two questions.
Well, the other guys that we were with and myself said blue cheese, but we were all on the flats train.
And flats, yeah. I mean, I'm a big ranch fan, so I can't go against it.
That's fair. Are you planning on going to any games this year? I think Jackson and Joshua both said that they're gonna try to make it down for OU Texas. Is that, or do you have anything planned like that yet, or are you just kind of waiting to see what your schedule looks like for football this year?
Yeah, I mean, our schedule's pretty much the same. Like we play Friday night at 7 until like state, but I'm gonna try to, because last year we couldn't make as many because my brother he played. Last year was last year youth ball. Now he's playing middle school ball, so they play during the week. So we should be able to, but you just got to see. I do need to go on there and look at the schedule and try to plan that out. But
yeah. So I want to ask you about your high school, your upcoming season. It's not too far away. How did last season go for you? What are you thinking this fall? Are you going for a state championship? What are some of your goals and what you're trying to do this upcoming season?
Yeah, so last year, it definitely didn't end how we wanted it to. It was we won our first district title. And so going into the semifinal, we had Christian Brothers, and we knew they were tough, but we knew we can beat them. And so going into the fourth quarter, we were up 14 points, and then they ended up coming back. And, we were one game away. We were like one play away, really. But this year, we're going to try to go all the way. I think this year, the way the districts are aligned, if we make it to the state and CBC makes it to state, we'll see each other there. So that'll be a big time rematch.
Heck yeah, man. I mean, I hope that goes well, and I hope you finish that senior season strong. Hopefully you guys accomplish all your goals as a team and you individually. But so this is kind of the last one I got. But just as a message to Sooner Nation, I guess, and our viewers, our subscribers, who is Cayden Green? I guess what kind of player are we getting out from you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say that I'm just Sooner Nation's getting a dog. I'm gonna try to be as college ready as possible when I get there. I want to play early, but yeah, I know I just got to keep working.
Are you planning to early enroll at all, or is that something you've given any thought to?
Yeah, I will.
All right, dope. I'm sure that those Schmitty workouts aren't going to be fun the first couple of weeks, but you'll get into it, bud.
Yeah, I mean, my head coach played for Oklahoma. I can't remember what year. It was the last year they won a championship.
2000.
2000.
Yeah, 2000. So he played under Coach Smitty, so he knows a little bit about Coach Smitty's workouts, so he said he's gonna get me right before I have to just be thrown into the fire.
Did he try to scare you at all with like horror stories from his college days at all?
Yeah, he does. And pretty nerve wracking.
Yeah, I bet.
That's funny.
Do you guys have any more questions for Cayden?
My one last question would be, obviously you've met Orlando Brown and Creed Humphrey. Are there any active players along that offensive line, or I guess any position that you're close with, you talk with quite a bit? What are your connections to the active team right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Savion. I talked to Tyler. I talked to Anton. Anton, I'm sorry. But I talked to who else? Chris was he was my host on my OV. So me and him talk a little bit. He was like one of the first people I told that I was pulling the plug. I talked to Daniel every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to get to know people, but yeah.
I guess follow up to that for Daniel Parker, with his transfer from Missouri to Oklahoma, he was around both programs. Did he ever, give you some insight on what the differences are and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to him a little bit on my OB about it, and he was just like, it's a big difference, like from everything, from the strength and workouts and strength and conditioning and all that stuff. And then, of course, I have a teammate at Mizzou, Armand, and I kind of pick his brain a little bit and talk to him. Me and him are, like, close, so I talk to him about, like, what's going on over there and all that stuff and kind of compare and contrast and all that stuff. I think that played a factor in my commitment, too.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Well, do you guys have any last questions?
I don't. I just want to say we appreciate it. And I guess a follow-up to that is we asked Jackson Arnold, who should we try to get on here next? Part of the 2023 class that's currently committed. Who do you think we should try to get on here to join us?
I say you should try to get PJ on. I don't know if he'll go for it just because he's not like a big social media guy, but I mean, he has good stuff to say. So I say try to get him on there.
Yeah. All right.
Put a good word in for us.
Yeah. Me and him, we roomed at Future 50, so me and him got to talk quite a bit and just kind of chatted up. He's got good stuff to say.
We'll definitely push for it because I think would be a fun interview, and I think our viewers will like that a lot. But Cayden, we really appreciate you taking the time tonight to hang out and talk with us for a bit. We're excited to have you. We think you're going to be a stud. We think this whole class is taking off in the right direction, so we couldn't be more excited as fans to watch y'all here in a couple of years take off for OU. But so we do an end of video challenge on this show. Brum kind of asked one to you about who to get on. You brought up PJ. So for anybody watching this video, we got Cayden Green on tonight. Drop your comments about Cayden Green, how excited you are to see him. Just kind of welcome him home.
All right. You heard the guy. Make sure to do that. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. All that's very important to us. We appreciate it as always, and we'll see you guys next time.